To those of you who never got around to playing Team Ico's Shadow of the Colossus, here's a clip of that classic which in many ways revolutionized the way games are conceived. Not in the sense that the game added new mechanics that upended old formulas, as much as it did the opposite. Like, have you ever imagined a game where 60% of the actual adventure consists of wandering? Shouldn't there be a few adversaries to break up the pace, a la Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda? The odd thing about Colossus is that the writing itself has no evident motivation in the gameplay. The gameplay isn't emphasizing exploration, as there's nothing really to locate other than your primary adversaries in the game world, that is, the 16 colossi you must fight throughout the story. That is literally the entire game, traveling to and fighting 16 colossi. It is purely a get-to-point B affair. Why would a video game even bother including so much empty space with no apparent narrative or dramatic motivation to the wandering in a game about fighting colossi? To answer this, we can look towards a tendency I've noticed in cinema itself. Many filmmakers have been deliberately stripping away basic narrative elements to emphasize a different kind of aesthetic, like in Nuri Bilge Ceylan's Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, a Turkish film which tells the story of the search for a dead body. You see, films about a search usually have a huge dramatic emphasis, all centering around the moment the body is found.
The kid was dead.
The drama and tragedy comes in large part from that discovery. It is the focal point of that drama.
It's Will. It's really Will.
However, in Anatolia, it seems like just about everything else in the film is more interesting than the discovery itself. Whether it be the eerie passing of a train in the distance, or the tumbling impact of a fallen apple. We can talk about the thematic implications of these decisions, but in the purely narrative sense, the filmmaker is making you notice things and feel certain details other films would refrain from. Another case where distinct dramatic and narrative elements are stripped away are in the works of the late, great Chantal Akerman. In this case, it's to emphasize the regimented schedule of the central character.
J'ai fait ce film pour donner une existence cinématographique à ces gestes. Et que si on voyait quelqu'un qu'on avait de l'habitude de voir faire le lit et la vaisselle, on ne le verrait pas. Comme les hommes ne voient plus que leurs femmes font la vaisselle. Et donc il fallait quelqu'un qu'on n'ait pas l'habitude de voir faire la vaisselle.
So why do I bring this all up, you ask? Because I think Shadow of the Colossus is doing exactly what those filmmakers are doing, but in a video game. Even though this is essentially a game about fighting colossi, the atmosphere with the desolate, empty landscapes suggests a reflective, solitary wandering. Each colossi slain a more deeply felt affair than if it were just another adversary, like in that Zelda clip I showed you earlier. This is all in the service of a game about guilt and loss, where you slay these beautiful mythical creatures to revive a deceased young woman. That's right, you're hunting these creatures for the love of one. Would this reality permeate your being if you didn't have a moment to breathe and reflect? That you are taking life in order to give life. Consider this design choice against, say, a Call of Duty shooter where death occurs left and right with not a moment to absorb any of it. Choices like these are important to consider when crafting your story in any medium, because sometimes the most powerful moments in that story aren't the ones that drive the plot forward or any of those big reveals, but instead that drawn-out moment of silence after the beast is slain, or the moment when you realize a rock formation may be something different from what it seems, or simply the trudging forward of a wanderer and his horse through the empty void. Though it has been obvious for many years and for many years to come, Shadow of the Colossus is not just a video game.